Good morning. My name is the Vice Mayor Jocelyn Manalo, and we want to thank everyone for coming this morning, and also for those of you watching online or live. We have a great opportunity. One of our community members, Dr. Marc Santamaria, is here with us to provide us an immigration update, and most urgently, what needs to be done if you want to file for DACA. So thank you. I want to hand it over to Dr. Marc Santamaria, and he's going to take it away. So thank you for this time and for sharing your talent and information with our community here in Daly City and beyond.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Vice Mayor Jocelyn Manalo. I just want to say thank you to the City Council and Vice Mayor Jocelyn Manalo, who helped organize this event, and we are very grateful that as members of the community, we can inform the community of the latest immigration news, and especially with DACA news. So let's begin. First, we have to say a little disclaimer that this is a free legal service provided to the members of and residents of Daly City, and it's our pleasure to do so. But this information is meant to be educational and does not constitute legal advice. You should consult with an immigration attorney should you have any questions. A little bit about me. I'm an immigration attorney. We have our own practice in San Francisco. And most importantly, we're Daly City residents. My wife and I live here, and with my family too. So we're very proud of this community, a community of immigrants. And so we think that this message is important for today. Just a little timeline about DACA. So again, this presentation will focus a lot on DACA. So let's look back and see what has happened so far. In June 2012, DACA was announced, and in August 2012, it was implemented. Then fast forward to June 2017, 10 state attorneys general threatened to sue the executive branch for DACA, which caused a lot of political issues. And as a result, on September 2017, DACA was effectively rescinded, meaning it is effectively terminated. So what does the rescission really do? And the rescission let's talk about this in terms of general points. So DACA is terminated. It is no longer in effect. However, the program will be phased out over the next 2 years, and they'll try to have cases naturally expire. So only those whose DACA will expire in the next 6 months can renew. And that's an important point because it is still possible for certain people to renew their DACA status. So USCIS, meaning the immigration branch of the federal government, will process all pending initial and renewal applications accepted as of September 5th, 2017. So there's a lot of very important dates here that you all should be aware of. USCIS will reject all other new initial applications, and USCIS will only accept new renewal applications from applicants whose DACA expires between September 5th and March 5th, 2018. Okay, so that's an important time frame for everyone to be aware of. And the next point is very important. So USCIS will only accept renewal applications for those DACA recipients indicated above until October 5th, 2017, which is tomorrow. And what does that mean by October 5th, 2017? So the DACA renewal applicants have to have their renewal applications submitted and handed to USCIS by tomorrow. So there's still time, but obviously you have to mail everything today. This is it, to get everything done and submitted on time. And if you do not, they will reject all renewal applications received after October 5th. It's a hard deadline. So how about current DACA holders? So individuals with current unexpired DACA recipients will continue to hold DACA until it expires. So what does that mean? Well, it basically means that they can continue on as DACA recipients with the rights that they had before. One thing is they will be protected from deportation, and they will continue to have valid work permits, Social Security, and they continue to go to school, do whatever they've been doing since they've had their DACA status. How about pending DACA applicants? So USCIS will continue to process initial and renewal applications that were filed by 9/5/17. Applicants with pending applications should attend biometrics appointments and respond to any request for additional evidence they receive from USCIS. These are two very personal choices that people have to make, because there's a lot of issues going on with federal immigration enforcement. And so understandably, there are a lot of people who feel afraid of what would happen if people continue to give their information to the government. Fortunately, DACA was implemented to help people who were under the shadows and who came here at no fault of their own. But now there's understandably afraid to submit more information to the government because of the fear of what's going to happen with DACA in the future. So this is a personal decision you all have to make with respect to renewing your DACA applicants and getting applications and attending biometrics appointments. However, you should still be safe from any kind of issues from immigration. And also note that approvals will be for the regular 2-year period. And questions about renewals. Can I file for renewal? If you currently have valid DACA, you can. And this is the important point, your current DACA expires between now and March 5th, 2018. And again, should you file for renewal, that's an individual choice. Renewal will give you 2 more years of work authorization and possible protection from deportation, but it's still unclear what will happen when you submit all your information, and then after the 2 years, what will happen with that information. So a tip is, if you have an immigration attorney, you can put, instead of your personal address, you can put your attorney's address, his or her work address, and put that as care of. And so that way they have, immigration has your attorney's information, not your information. So when should you file? Renewal applications must be accepted by tomorrow, October 5th, 2017. Okay, not just postmarked. We can't stress this enough because this is a hard deadline. So if you have a criminal conviction, these are a couple things to think about with respect to renewing your DACA status. So DHS, meaning Department of Homeland Security, will start to accept your renewal application, and it may be approved. It is riskier to provide your recent criminal record to DHS, but it may be safer to have DACA than not have it. And you should consult with an attorney or accredited representative as soon as possible to get help with your renewal. Again, this is a personal decision. If you want to include this information, first of all, you should include this information about any criminal conviction. But with respect to renewal, this is information that the government will have. So you have to talk with an attorney with respect to renewing your DACA status and disclosing any prior criminal convictions. So confidentiality. Will ICE use my DACA info to deport me? And right now it's really unclear, but they would have to, meaning ICE and USCIS would have to really communicate with each other and put you, a DACA recipient, on high priority to really be able to use your information. So USCIS will not refer DACA recipients and applicants to ICE for deportation unless they meet USCIS's notice to appear guidance or pose a risk to national security or public safety. Basically, this means that you have to be on their notice, and meaning there's something that was written in your notice to appear. There was a form that you may have filled out called a notice to appear. And in that, it lists things that you may have done, for example, some sort of crime which is highly unlikely for DACA recipients, but that would be there in the what's called the NTA, Notice to Appear. And so they would have to communicate with each other to put you on higher priority. So number 2, will ICE deport me once my DACA expires? So USCIS says that information provided to USCIS in DACA requests will not be proactively provided to ICE and CBP, that's Border Protection, for the purposes of immigration enforcement. So that's something to note. That again is not a proactive thing that they're going to be doing for each other. ICE, CBP, USCIS is not, again, it's not a high priority issue for people in these organizations. Another thing that's important with DACA recipients is advanced parole. What does that mean? So basically it means the ability to travel outside of the country, which was a right that DACA recipients were given. However, unfortunately now, there are no new applications for advanced parole, meaning they cannot travel outside the country legally anymore. So then pending applications will be closed and applicants issued a refund of the filing fee. Previously approved advanced parole documents remain valid. However, we don't suggest to continue to travel in and out of the country now. DACA recipients currently outside the country on advanced parole should be able to return to the U.S. as long as they do so before their advanced parole expires. But we suggest to get back as soon as possible. And remember, CBP has discretion to deny re-entry into the U.S. So this will be an individual decision at the border. Okay, so you have to have all your documents ready showing that you do have advanced parole, your DACA status, and any kind of other evidence to prove that you can legally travel and you should legally be here. So tips for people that are traveling. If you travel on advanced parole or are currently abroad, make sure to return to the US before it expires and while your DACA is valid. If you have been granted advanced parole under DACA but have not yet left the country, speak with an immigration expert before traveling. Okay, this is a very important decision you have to make. We understand that maybe there's issues that you have to attend to in your home country, but you should talk to an immigration attorney or accredited representative before traveling. And another right that is given to DACA recipients are work permits. So DACA recipients can continue to work until their work permits expire. And you have the right to work legally until your work permit's expiration date. And you have no obligation to inform your employer that DACA has ended. This last point is important because some people think that you have to update your employer with everything that's going on with DACA, and that's just not the case legally. And we're going to emphasize that a little more in the next slide here. So employers do not have the right to ask employees if they have DACA or how they got their work permit. And this has been the law with respect to other visa statuses and similarly with DACA. So this is consistent law here. And employers do not have the right to fire, put on leave, or change the work status of an employee whose work permit will expire in the future. And employers may notify an employee that they will need to provide an updated work permit, but cannot take any action against them until it is expired. Okay, so employers and employees should know these issues here. Similarly, with Social Security numbers, they remain valid until their DACA is valid. So the picture on the right is for a person who has DACA. This is the top right below where it says Social Security is where you can see that the person with DACA status has a Social Security there versus the one on the left, which is a typical Social Security card. So this is something to note. That employers will see. And how about driver's licenses and IDs? So DACA recipients in all 50 states are eligible for a state driver's license. So California has our own rules, so we should do research on what happens to DACA recipients with respect to their driver's licenses in California. There are specific rules on license eligibility. As I said, from state to state, California has their own. And in many states, DACA recipients may not be eligible to renew their license or obtain a new license after DACA expires. So it's a good idea to renew your driver's license now or soon before your DACA expires. So knowing all what we talked about, you should know how to defend yourself by knowing your rights and knowing your options, okay? So all DACA recipients should go for legal consultation with a trusted service provider. Share with the immigration attorney your story. Maybe they can find some sort of other immigration relief for you. You never know. You may be eligible for other immigration benefits, so you just don't know. And you may be eligible for another program. So just think about those things. Just watch out for fraud. There are a lot of immigration consultants out there that are not really experts in what they do, or maybe just looking out for profit rather than helping you. So go to the State Bar website, go to community organizations to verify who you decide to work with. And you always want to check that person's work and make sure that person is doing the right thing for you. Okay? And also just know your rights. So there are something called the red card. Okay? This card here helps you remember your rights, and if in a situation where you are contacted by the authorities, you can hand this to them, and this reminds you and tells them that you are aware of your rights and your two most important rights in this situation, which are the right to remain silent and right to an attorney. And please note that in many situations you do not have to say anything, you don't have to divulge anything to the authorities. Okay, you can just tell them, I want to speak to an attorney and I choose to be silent. So you can also look out for websites out there that are very helpful. These are some here that you can look out for that are very informative and help you. There's not only just local ones, but national ones like here. There's ilrc.org, which is a very useful site for knowing your rights and getting out there and seeing what options you have. And so, and others are here, like United We Dream, Immigration Advocates. These are really good websites to find out more information. And a little bit about legislation. So there's some proposed acts that are in the national forum right now. And so please keep up with what's going on. And obviously, if you prefer a specific act, go and support that act. Call your congressperson and contact him or her and find out how you can support that act. So the first four are all about the DREAM Act and with respect to DACA. The last one is different. It's a RAISE Act. It's bad, in my personal opinion. It's just, it cuts legal immigration in half. And so that's something for you to think about if you want to get more involved. Just do some research on what the RAISE Act does. And again, would cut legal, and I say legal, immigration by half. So next steps, just remember that you tomorrow have to submit everything. Have everything in the government's hands by tomorrow, 10/5. And you should also consult with immigration attorney, accredited representative about your legal options. You never know. You never know what's out there. And also please know your rights, get a red card, work with community organizations to help you know your rights, protect yourself, and we trust that this will help you. And this is such a emotional time for a lot of people, And a lot of these DACA recipients, they're kind of bargaining chips right now, but please stay strong and continue to keep moving forward. Last time I did a presentation like this at City College of San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and my interpreter interpreted for me in Spanish. She didn't know about these things that I just mentioned. So as I was explaining these things, she was learning about them as a DACA recipient herself. And so it was a very emotional time for her just to have to interpret everything and explain everything to the people there. So that's why it's always good to work with your community leaders. And again, we want to thank Jocelyn Manalo for putting this together because this is such a time for us to get together and help each other. So with that, I want to thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, please contact us at our website, usimmigrationplan.com, or phone number at 415-745-3650. That's 415-745-3650. And here are additional resources from like national websites, but there are also a lot of Bay Area organizations in San Francisco, Daly City, and if you have questions on how to contact them, please contact Daly City Council. And we want to thank you for having us. Thank you.